one of the reasons, just a couple quick explanations, the reason we have the small screen is there's a play this weekend and it cut the whole stage. So we can't even get to the big screen. The moderator and the deputy moderator both gone tonight, they can't make it. So the first order of business is to elect a temporary moderator, and that's my job. There is a quorum. At this point, I will take nominations for a temporary moderator. I have a motion for Andrew Jolden. Do I have a second? Second. Do I have any other nominations? I'll take a motion to close nominations. Do I have a second? All those in favor of closing the nomination say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. All in favor of Andrew Jolden being the temporary moderator say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Andrew, come on up. Come on up.
So, Mr. Moderator, while you're coming up, do you mind if I do ask questions, just so we get...
One more piece of business, please. Oh, come on. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to affirm that the faithful and impartial discharge and perform all duties and remember as a
Keep it on the tees.
Mike.
Top side.
And allow me to know something. One more.
All right, before we start this evening, I'd like to take a moment of silence to recognize two longtime Webster residents who have recently passed away, Arthur Remillard Jr. and John J. McNally Jr. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask the Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We're just going to check and see how long we're going to do. I have been informed that a quorum is present. At this time, I will ask the town clerk to read the warrant.
In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby required and directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Webster aforesaid, who are qualified to vote in elections and town affairs, to meet in Bartlett High School Auditorium, 52 Lake Parkway, in said Webster, on Monday, December 10th, 2018, at 7 p.m., then and there to act on the articles to wit. Article 1.
We have a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of the warrant. Is there any discussion? And as moderator, I'll take this as a voice vote. So all those in favor of dispensing with the reading of the warrant, please say aye. Aye. All those in favor of not dispensing with the reading of the warrant, please say no. The vote is unanimous. So at this time, for those of you who haven't attended town meeting recently, we have new clickers. So we have done electronic voting, the way it works is for, if you want to answer yes, it is 1 or A. If you want to vote no, it is 2 or B. You can press the button as many times as you like. It only records your last vote. So if you press it 5 times, when we close the voting, it's only going to register 1 vote for you. So we're going to do a test question. Question is, will the Patriots win the Super Bowl? A, or 1 for yes, 2, B for no, and at this time we'll open voting. And at this time we'll close voting. Article 1, reports from the Finance Committee or Board of Selectmen. To hear and act upon the report and recommendations of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, or take any action thereon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve the article as read.
We have a motion and a second to approve the article as read. All those in favor, please press 1 or A for yes. All those opposed, press 2 or B for no. At this time, voting is now open. And we'll close voting. And the article passes.
And just so everyone's aware, the Board of Selectmen's recommendations as well as the Finance Committee are in the town meeting guide that was on the table when we walked in.
Article 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer from sewer other charges for a sum of $48.15 to the sewer unpaid bills account for the purpose of funding the payment of prior year's unpaid invoices or take any action thereon. This is a 9/10 vote.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve the article as read.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. And voting is now open. And we'll close voting. The article passes. Next article, Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $55,633.32 from the Town Hall Stabilization Fund to the Town Hall Improvements account for the purpose of funding improvements to the Town Hall or take any action thereon. This requires 2/3 majority.
So, Mr. Moderator, brief explanation. We have on our old landfill on Hudworth Road, there's a solar field on it. We get a lease payment of approximately $55,000 a year. Town meeting voted to designate that to go to a town hall stabilization fund. So this will transfer the money out of the stabilization fund and into the capital account so we can spend it on the town hall renovations. And this is a 2/3 vote. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $55,259.02 from the Town Hall Stabilization Fund to the Town Hall Improvements account for the purpose of funding improvements to Town Hall.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
The amount's slightly different from what was printed in the town meeting guide because of the amount of interest.
All right, hearing no other discussion, we'll open voting. Again, it is 1 for yes, or 2 if you're opposed, and we'll open voting.
Yeah, now vote.
All right, we will close voting. And the article passes. Article 4, funding of debt paydowns. To see if the town will vote to transfer the balance of the landfill compost maintenance and cleanup fund, approximately $139,720.58 to the general fund principal account for the purpose of funding fiscal year 2019 debt paydowns, or take any action thereon.
So, Mr. Moderator, in the May town meeting, we approved $200,000 to fund the cleanup of the landfill area and the compost facility. So we, at the time, thought that there was a portion of the landfill that was not capped. Since then, we did an engineering analysis and we found out that it was capped, just a different cap than what was typically expected. So that money is now available to be used for another purpose. We're proposing that it be used to transfer to the general fund debt service budget to pay for debt paydowns. So what we originally budgeted was to take a few debt service projects and ban them. That means it's a bond anticipation note, so we don't go long-term on debt for another year. So what we're proposing to do now is, with that extra money, pay the principal up front so we have less interest in the future. So with that, I will make the motion to see if the town will vote to transfer the balance of $133,045.58 from the landfill compost maintenance and cleanup fund to the general fund principal account for the purpose of funding the FY19 debt paydowns.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Moderator, Ken Van Deal from School Street. What happened to the other $67,000?
Yeah.
$67,000.
So the project was two different things. One was some of the refuse was capped or uncapped. The other portion we used to pay for the cleanup of the compost materials. So we had 10 years worth of compost grindings and things that the DEP came and cited us and said that we had to remove.
Any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, we'll open voting. It will be 1 for yes, or 2B for no.
So,
And we will close voting.
sorry.
All right, the article passes.
Moderator, can we re-vote that one?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, so we are going to re-vote that article, Article 4. So,
Moderator, can we go to the town, we can't see the community side of it.
absolutely.
Hey Greg, you may want to come down here. Sorry, everyone. So, just, no, no,
For those of you who picked up a copy of the town meeting guide, are all of you missing a printout of page 2? If you could check. Raise your hand if you are missing a copy of page 2.
So, Mr. Moderator, we're back online whenever we want to re-poll our Yeah. So go ahead. You want people to vote?
So with the town guide, if you have a copy that says Town Webster Town Meeting Guide, the full printout of all the articles are. And we're going to revote Article 4. And at this time, voting is open. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. And we'll close voting. (142-7), the article passes.
So, Mr. Moderator, before we go on to the next few articles, can I briefly explain them?
Absolutely.
All right, so the next, I believe 7 articles all have to do with marijuana. So I'm going to go over them real quick, and then if you have specific questions about each article, then you can ask them when we're on that specific one. But Article 5 creates a 3% local sales tax on the marijuana. If we did not do this, then the town would not receive that 3%. Article 6 is to amend our marijuana licensing process, and it would, 1, limit the number of dispensaries to 20% of our number of liquor licenses. That would be 2 retail marijuana dispensaries in town. It also requires each marijuana retailer to register with the town, and it allows the selectmen to limit the hours of a marijuana retail establishment. If that does not pass, then there's no limit on the number of retail dispensaries allowed in town. Article 7 is to rezone 30 Worcester Road. That's the parcel that the cultivation facility is currently at. They want to expand and have a retail facility, a research lab there, a research facility. And so if that was zoned industrial, then Article 8 allows research facilities to be allowed in an industrial zone. Article 9 is to adjust the special permit section of the bylaw to list marijuana research facilities. Article 10 is to create and regulate recreational marijuana through a retail sales overlay district. If that were not to pass, that would mean that marijuana could go anywhere in town without any zoning restriction. The town would still have the ability to limit it through a host agreement, but there would not be any zoning regulations on it. And Article 11 is to add the retail marijuana retail sales overlay district to the use table. And again, if that wasn't allowed, then marijuana would be allowed to go anywhere. So with that, we will move on to Article 5.
Article 5, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 64N, Section 3, to impose a 3% local sales tax on the sale or transfer of marijuana or marijuana products by a marijuana retailer operating within the town of Webster, or take any action thereon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve the article as read.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we will open the voting. 1 for a yes, 2 if you're opposed or no. And we'll close voting. (132 to 15), the article passes. Article 6, marijuana retailers license general bylaw. To see if the town will vote to amend Part 2 regulatory bylaws, Chapter 445, marijuana of the town of Webster general bylaws, by deleting the text shown in. We have a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of the article. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll open voting. And it's 1 if you're in favor of dispensing with the reading of the article, or 2 if you're opposed.
So you're voting on the motion to
Dispense with the reading.
you just do a voice vote.
We'll do that as a voice vote since it's not set up for electronic. So all those in favor of dispensing with the reading of the article, please say aye. Aye. All those in opposed of dispensing with the reading of the article, please say no. The vote is unanimous. And now at this time we will.
So just a brief explanation again, this limits it to 20% of liquor stores, which is 2 in the town. And then allows the selectmen to limit the hours, and retailers are required to register with the town. Any questions?
Small way.
Yes.
There is a delay from the time you say voting is open. You can really vote.
No, we're gonna, I'll extend the time
You
here.
know that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you are voting, you want to make sure that you see a green light on your clicker. If you see a red light, that means it didn't register the vote.
Yeah, sometimes if everyone votes at the same time, it may not read it, so. So it is open, Mr. Moderator.
All right, is there a motion?
I will make that motion. I move that the town vote to approve the article as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? It's a general bylaw, and we do have a report from the bylaw committee. And the bylaw committee made no recommendations for changing changes in the wording of the bylaw as printed in warrant article 6.
So it is still open.
All right, so we'll open voting now that there's no other discussion. So 1A for yes or 2B for no. All right, at this time we will close voting. (128 to 14), the article passes.
Mr. Moderator, would you ask anyone wishing to make a
Use the mic.
statement to go to a microphone? Because there were hands up during that vote. And
Absolutely.
to ask people to go up to the microphone so they can be heard.
Will do, thank you. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to amend the town of Webster's zoning map referenced in section 650-13 of the Code of Town of Webster to rezone one parcel of land totaling 1,350,404 square feet, 31 acres, from the current zoning of business with sewer B4 to industrial, as said real estate in the town of Webster located on Worcester Road in the county of Webster, Massachusetts, as shown on the map entitled Proposed 30 Worcester Road Zoning Map Amendment, and on file with the Board of Selectmen or take any action therein. This is a 2/3 required vote and does require a report from the planning board.
So while the planning board stands up to give the report, just briefly, on the map, if you can see that this is the parcel, it's located behind Price Chopper and next to Mount Zion Cemetery. And this is the zoning map, so right now it's B4, and as you'll be able to see, it would be next to industrial as well, so it would not be considered spot zone.
Can you explain why it ain't industrial now?
So it was industrial a few, I'm not sure when it was changed, but in the past it was zoned industrial. The town changed it to retail. Currently the use is, I would consider an industrial use, so it's being changed back to industrial.
You have industrial there now.
Right, exactly.
Could you please come forward to the mic and state your name if you're going to ask any questions?
Planning board. Keep coming.
Mike Dostler, 8 Hammock Drive, I'm the vice chairman of the planning board. Thursday night, we had our planning board meeting. There were about 30 townsfolk that were there. We had a vote and recommended that all 3 warrant articles pass as drafted.
Go ahead, sir.
Someone please explain what a research facility does?
Yeah, you want to do that? Okay.
Hi, everyone. Ann Morgan, Town Planner. It's my understanding in the most simple form that the research facilities are developing new products to potentially go to market. They are not for the development of product to be sold on-site or at any given time until they go to an independent testing laboratory. Both the research facilities and the testing facility have to be licensed by the state. There are regulations for this. So they're developing new product for potential market sales.
Vita Kresiak, Irene Avenue. Does any of the research include animals?
I do not know the answer to that question. What I do know that was told to us by one of the industry representatives was that the amount of marijuana on site used for developing product is a very, very small amount, but I do not know the answer to that question. That's a good question.
Okay, then I guess we should pass it over not knowing that.
Mr. Moderator, the operator of the facility is in the room. I believe you could answer that question for us if you would like him to.
Absolutely, we'll just need to get approval from town meeting to allow the non-resident to address town meeting in regards to the article. So all those in favor of allowing the non-resident to address town meeting in regards to this article, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. All right, go right ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Johnson. I'm the president of Curaleaf, Massachusetts. There will be absolutely no testing on animals. This is just to try new formulations of the oil and how to inject into the different products, how to melt it within chocolate, how to infuse new products. I think the biggest change to towns considering a research facility is that it allows research facilities to grow a small amount of marijuana at the research facility. Because we already grow at our grow facility and it's going to be co-located, there's really no real big impact to the town. But those towns that accept the research facility independently will then allow cultivation in their town.
Do we have a motion on the article?
So I move that the town vote to approve the article as presented.
Excuse me. At no time this will ever change. Okay.
And do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and second. Any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, I will open voting. Again, this is a 2/3 vote. So all those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. And voting is now open. All right, we'll close voting. All right, it is 129 to 25. The article passes. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Webster zoning bylaws by amending Chapter 650. We have a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of the article. Since this isn't set up for electronic voting, I'll take it by voice vote. All those in favor of dispensing with the reading of the article, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The vote is unanimous.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve the article as read. Just to clarify that this will put marijuana research facilities in industrial districts by a special permit.
We have a motion and a second. Before I open voting, is there any discussion?
Again, it has the plural facilities, which this is a single company right now. Are we talking other companies that might be involved in the future?
There is a potential, but any new company coming in would have to enter into a host agreement with the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Howard Johnson, 16 Bluebird Lane. Could somebody explain what benefit there is to the town to having a research facility?
One is if we allow it in town, it allows the option for us to enter into host agreements with it allows us to enter into a host agreement with a research facility, which in turn provides revenue to the town. Also, it allows us to recruit new business to the town.
If it's not a sales facility, how does it generate revenue for the town?
Yeah, through the host agreement, there's a payment associated with it that we would negotiate with the research facility.
But there's no limitation on that, that would just be up to negotiation when somebody decides they want to be one?
Correct, yep. So there's a max limitation of 3% of sales for a host agreement, if they're not, or not a negotiated price. So if it's just a research facility, there is no sales, so we would negotiate a host agreement amount.
Right, and as this is a zoning bylaw, is there a report from the planning board?
You do it.
Again, Mike Gospel, Vice Chairman. This is another warrant that we passed on Thursday night as well, and we passed it as drafted.
Can't hear a word.
So the planning board reviewed that, and they recommended passage as written.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, I will open voting. It will be 1 for yes, 2 for no. And again, this is a 2/3 vote. All right, we will close voting. (124 to 29), the article passes. Article 9. To see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Webster zoning bylaws by amendment. We have a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of the article. And I'll do this by voice vote. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of dispensing with the reading of the article, please say aye. Aye. All those in opposed of dispensing with the reading of the article, please say no. The vote is unanimous.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve the article as presented.
We have a motion and a second to approve the article as presented. Is there any discussion? All right, so since this article is another zoning one, I'll need a report from the planning board.
Again, Thursday night, passage as written.
Any other discussion? Again, this is a 2/3 vote, so at this time I'll open up voting. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. All right, we'll close voting. (130 to 20), The article passes. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Webster zoning bylaws. We have a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of the article. Is there any discussion? And I'll do this as a voice vote. All those in favor of dispensing with the reading of the article, please say aye. Aye. All those in opposition to dispensing with the reading of the article, please say no. The vote is unanimous.
Mr. Moderator, can I explain the article briefly?
Absolutely.
So this article creates two overlay districts for retail marijuana sales. One is the Kmart Plaza, and then the other is along Town Forest Road, and I'll show a map on the PowerPoint in just a second. But it also creates additional regulations. I'll briefly go through some of them. I think these were the most pertinent, at least as far as I saw them. So one, it requires a special permit from the planning board. It prohibits on-site consumption of marijuana. There's no off-site deliveries or mobile units. And that the retail can't co-locate in a building with residential units. Products and paraphernalia can't be visible from the road. It requires a security and traffic plan. It requires an annual inspection. And the special permit expires every 3 years, so it would have to be renewed. And then the maps, I know a lot of you probably can't see that far away, but this is the Kmart area, so the upper portion is where the Shaw's supermarket was, and then Kmart and the other strip retail. The other one, this is up on Town Forest Road, next to exit 3. So if you go up there, I believe it's marine hazard, and there's a building with a medical office in it, and you go back and there's other buildings in the back. So it's that entire area there. And the actual parcels are listed in the town meeting guide. With that, Mr. Moderator, I'll move that the town vote to approve the article as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Moderator, I move to amend the motion to remove the reference to the specific overlay district, but keep in place the remaining regulations of this article. And just for point of discussion, I'm going to recommend that districts B4 and B5 in the next article be included by special permit. All other regulations of this article stay as such.
Is that a motion? You're making a motion to amend the article? All right, is there a second to that motion? All right, we have a motion and a second. And at this time, I'll open up discussion for amending the article. After consulting with town council, I'm going to rule that motion out of order because it's out of the scope of the article. It would not comply with the public hearing requirement that pertains to changing zoning bylaws.
So, Mr. Moderator, I believe Mr. Gabor's intent was to expand areas where retail marijuana sales could happen. So the two areas that we're proposing here, they may have some difficulty with people being able to work with the landlords to be able to actually open in one of those districts. So we will actually be holding another special town meeting in January to expand those overlay districts. So if that was the concern, we have addressed that by doing that again in January, so additional areas can be open and available for retail dispensaries to move into.
with that amendment being rolled out of order, we're back onto the original article as presented. So is there any more discussion on the original article as presented?
Mr. Moderator, could you have the town administrator elaborate as to why the article is not being pulled and should be voted on at this time and not in January?
So, explain why it's considered out of scope?
No, why the article is not being pulled and re-entered in January?
Oh, thank you, that's actually a good point. Right now, at our last town meeting in October, we voted that to not extend the moratorium. So the moratorium expires at the end of December. So without this article and passage of this article, marijuana could, a retail dispensary could technically be open anywhere in town. There would not be any zoning regulations for it. So what we're trying to do is avoid that, pass this now, so that there are regulations in place and there is zoning specific to retail sales. And then if we want to expand it, we can expand it in January. Does that answer your question?
Any other discussion?
Mr. Moderator, Paul Kajowski, 71 Cleveland Ave. For clarification, I think that there was a public hearing with the planning board and the board of selectmen that these two areas were selected, and we have to vote on that tonight. And if this doesn't pass, that means that it would be open to anywhere in town. Is that correct?
That's correct. If that article were to fail, there would be no zoning regulation and no limitation on where it could be zoned.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Hello, Robin Craver, 35 Bayview Road. I just have, I have a question. Hold on. Let's go the other way. I know a little bit about marijuana. Sorry. But I don't know about this. Okay, let me not touch it. I have a question. You're saying that if this doesn't pass, that conceivably it could go anywhere. But the reality is that the Board of Selectmen have to sign a host agreement. So waiting between now or voting it now versus voting it in January really doesn't matter as long as the Board of Selectmen doesn't do a host agreement, correct?
Right, so anyone that would be entering into, that would want to start a retail facility would have to enter into a host agreement with the Board of Selectmen first.
So the Board of Selectmen could certainly tell the retail people that they're going to wait until the January meeting to act on it, correct?
They could. I would still recommend that we pass it now just to have something in place.
I'm just trying to also answer and make clear for people who are asking that so that they don't feel like if they don't pass it tonight, that they, you know, will have them in their neighborhoods.
Yep, it would not be a free-for-all. Yeah, the biggest hurdle would be they'd have to get a host agreement with the town.
Okay. So let me just follow up on that. My understanding also is that we've just limited it to 2 retails.
We did.
So one question would be, following up on one of the Finance Committee people's request, why wouldn't this be held to give an even playing field to anyone who's interested so that the Board of Selectmen would know all of the parcels that might be considered? Because between now and January, would you be giving a leg up, so to speak, for the 2 ones that you've looked at now?
Right, so we wouldn't be entering into a host agreement before that town meeting. So our intent was after the October town meeting where the town meeting voted to allow retail, or actually they actually turned down the prohibition of retail. We made a good faith effort to find locations that we thought would be good for retail sales and for the community. And so the 2 districts we chose, we've shown on the board. But the landlords have some, well, there's some reasons why they can't go in there. For instance, there's a mortgage on the property at Kmart, and so the bank won't allow marijuana to lease from that. So, back to your point, we will be able to have the regulations in place. It's more than just these two districts, so it creates other regulations that I went over, and then we can always expand the districts in January when we have another town meeting.
Okay. I do want to applaud you for the districts in the areas that you looked at, because I think they do make sense. My concern was that everyone get an even playing field if there's other landowners out there that would like to be considered. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, before I open the voting, it is 2/3, and I am in receipt of a written opinion by the planning board in regard to Article 10, and in their written opinion, they recommended as printed in the warrant. So hearing no other discussion, we'll open voting. 1 for yes, 2 for no. All right, we will close voting. So it is 116 to 34. We do have a 2/3 majority, so the article passes. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Webster zoning bylaws by amending Chapter 650. We have a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of the article. Is there any discussion?
What does, in the second part, what does released from covenant and or bond mean?
So that's not Article 11. We're on Article 11.
And we're voting just to dispense on the article. And we will do this as a voice vote. Hearing no other discussion. All those in favor with dispensing of the reading of the article, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed to dispensing with the reading of the article, please say no. The motion is unanimous.
Mr. Moderator, as a point of explanation, this just creates the recreational marijuana retail sales overlay district and requires a special permit to be zoned there. So I move that the town vote to approve the article as read.
We have a motion and a second to approve the article. Is there any discussion? This is a 2/3 vote, and it does require a report from the planning board, and I am in possession of a written report from the planning board. And as of their meeting,
Greg, can you come down?
as of their meeting, the planning board recommended unanimously 3-0 to recommend passage of the warrant articles as written. voting to open.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. It's now open.
Oh, wait, so hearing no other discussion, I'll open up voting. This is a 2/3 required vote. All those in favor, please press 1. All those opposed, press 2. And voting is open. All right, we'll close voting. (126 to 24). We do have the 2/3 required vote. The article passes. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to add to the bylaws, Chapter 573, with the following language. We have a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of the article. Is there any discussion with regards to dispensing with the reading of the article?
Mr. Moderator, Joseph LaPlante, Precinct 4, Indian Point Road. The article is a little bit vague, and I would make a recommendation.
Hey, Joe, sorry to interrupt you, but this is only for dispensing the reading. So if you want to come up in 2 minutes, it would be better.
Yeah, right now we're only taking
I don't hear you, so.
At this time, we're only taking discussion in regards to dispensing with the reading of the article. We're not taking any action on the article itself.
Oh, sure. Fine.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in regards to dispensing with the reading of the article? Hearing no discussion in regards to dispensing with the reading of the article, we'll do this as a voice vote. All those in favor of dispensing with the reading of the article, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed to dispensing with the reading of the article, please say no. It is unanimous.
Wait, Mr. Moderator, sorry to jump in before you, but let me explain a few things and hopefully that'll answer some of the questions before we get going. So right now, we have many private ways in town. A lot of them are not improved, meaning they're just dirt roads. When it rains, like we've had a lot of rain this past fall, those get rutted, makes it difficult to drive on. But because they are private roads and they're not accepted by the town cannot spend any public funds on improving them. Currently, we do minor repairs to them. Typically in the spring and in the fall, we'll do grading to help make these a little more passable and to, it helps our public safety equipment be able to go down there and also our highway equipment when they're traveling on those roads. But really, the town has very limited ability to spend funds on private ways. So right now, the only course for people to take these private ways and improve them is to essentially pay out the money themselves, or if they have generous neighbors, to work with their neighbors and everyone agreed to pay for it together. So the purpose of this article is twofold. One, it allows the town to make minor temporary repairs as recommended by the highway superintendent and approved by the Board of Selectmen. So this would be when we go out and make those biannual grading of the private ways that gives us the official ability to do that. Second, it lets us make major temporary repairs to roads. So that would be if you wanted to pave any of your roads. And the way that we would do that is by creating a betterment. So if you look on the screen here, I know a lot of you can't see it, so right now you can do improve, so right now, like I said, the only way to pave your road is to do it privately between you and your neighbors. If we were to do this, you can do an improvement on your private way through a betterment. So that would mean that the street is paved, but it's not to the same standards as our regular public streets. And if you are just doing it to that level, the responsibility of future improvements remains with the private owners, the abutters of the property. Just some rough numbers, that costs about $100 to $130 per linear foot to make the improvements. And then the way the article is written right now, those would be charged to the residents, all the abutters, based on their proportion of the linear frontage of the road. Yeah, so yeah, if you can't see this table, it's on page 27 in the town meeting guide. Alternatively, if you wanted to bring your road up to the current town standards, you could do that, and you could do it through this betterment process. And if you brought it up to that level, the town, if you bring it through town meeting and get it accepted by town meeting, the town would maintain it in perpetuity. This costs a lot more. Just some rough estimates, it would be $140 to $180 per linear foot. And again, that would be charged back through a betterment to the abutters over a period of 5 years. And then, of course, if you wanted to keep the town out of it, you still have that ability to pave it yourself or in combination with your neighbors. So I can go through what the process of betterment might look like. So your first step, if you're interested in entering into a betterment, is that you would meet with your neighbors, and if you guys agree that it's something that you want to look into, you would notify the town. We put together a form that you would provide us with, that you would outline what the scope of work would look like. After that, you would meet with our engineer and the highway superintendent. They would go on site to talk about the scope, make sure that everyone's on the same page, and then we provide an estimate of what that cost might look like. At that point, the liaison who's been working with the town will have to go back and get the abutters to all sign the petition. Right now it's at 50%. If 50% of the abutters petition the Board of Selectmen, we'll have a public hearing with the Board of Selectmen. If they approve it after that public hearing, it goes to a town meeting vote. We'll develop the work schedule, then we'll approve the funds to borrow. We'll procure the construction services, because it's probably not going to be our highway personnel doing it. We'll have to contract those out. After that, we will have a public hearing to vote on the order of the betterments. So once we have a good price, the betterment will be voted on to go to the properties. That will be filed with the Registry of Deeds. The work will start, and once it's completed, the final betterments will be recorded with the Registry of Deeds. And notification will go out to all the butters. So in general, that's the process. I know there's going to be lots of questions, so we have the highway superintendent here as well to help answer them. So I'll turn it back to you, Ron.
Do we have a motion on the article?
So I move that we approve the article as presented.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Moderator, as I mentioned, I live on Indian Point Road. Our road is only about 800 feet long. We have a surgeon doctor who lives on the road. I can understand the article, and I can understand the highway superintendent. Some of those roads are maybe a mile long, and it would be very, very costly for the highway department to try to fix up any of those roads. I'm referring to my road, and it's only about 800 feet long. The highway department has been very good to me. They've tried to keep it plowed out. They've tried to keep all the holes filled, which is fine, which is great, and I'm satisfied with that. If the article is to pass, I would suggest that it stops at section 573.2.
Is that in the form of a motion?
That's my motion.
All right, is there a second for that motion? So we have a motion and a second to amend the printed article to stop at section 573.2. Correct, to stop at 573.2. Don't eliminate everything beyond that point.
So, Mr. Moderator, can I clarify what that vote would mean?
Yep, we have a motion and a second on it, so under discussion, if you want to clarify.
Yeah, so that would mean that the option to create and add betterments would not be available to town residents. So if you wanted your road improved, the only option would be to pay for it yourself or to get your neighbors to chip in with you. The town would not have involvement in that process.
So is there any other discussion in regards to voting on amending the Article 12 up to section 573.2?
Mr. Moderator, I believe that that would mean that the road owners could petition the town to make the repairs, but there would be no assessment, because what they're asking for is to eliminate the assessments.
Right, so section 573.2 is minor temporary repairs, so that is minor temporary repairs. That would be big grading or minor repairs of the road. That would not include any major work like pavement or drainage, anything like that. So essentially that's kind of what we're doing now, where the town does go out and provides minor maintenance on those roads.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Tom Claybrook speaking as a private citizen. I am opposed to leaving it at including only up to 573.2. I live on Base Grove Road. We've tried to work with the abutters, the landowners that are abutters to that road for about a year and a half. We have major problems with rain, and as many of you know, we have a pond that's been there for about 2 months, and this happens every single year. And so, although we've tried to work together as abutters on that road, we haven't been able to come to a solution. Having the major temporary repairs, 573.3 and on with the other sections, would allow us an alternative to come to the town, to ask the town to make some repairs for us, because we can't do it, can't get agreement on the road. Without the additional sections, we would be able to do some minor grading, repair of potholes, but that's it. And we would end up with a permanent pond every single summer. And that, it's about 200 to 300 feet long. And if people would like to see the amount of water that ends up on lawns, I've got some pictures. But I make a motion that we approve all of the sections of this article. Also, could you explain the betterment fee and how that works and who actually pays for it? And this would only, if there's some major repairs that are made to the road, that the payments for the expenses that are made to the town are made by the landowners of that road, that abut the road, and no other taxpayer in town.
Right, well, that was pretty clear, but yes, so.
I want to make sure it's clear.
Yeah, so if the road is improved through the betterment process, it would be in proportion. Well, we take the total cost of the whole project, including the construction and even the cost to record the deeds. That would go and would be divided proportionately to how much linear frontage you have on the road. And then that is, right, the way it's written right now, is you'd have to pay that back through 10 equal payments over 5 years.
Mr. Moderator, to the administrator, highway superintendent, would that also include drainage?
which is a big problem.
Could you please use the microphone?
Drainage on some of the particular roads that are flooded. There's a microphone right there. I want to use it.
Right, all right. So his question was, does that include drainage? And so certainly in section 5.73.2, the minor temporary repairs, it does not include any drainage. I would say that the scope of the work included some drainage, that could be included as part of the project, but that drainage would be built in as part of the project, and that cost would be put on through the betterment of all the others. It depends on what the scope is of the project.
Is there any other discussion? I saw this gentleman here.
Yes, my name is Bob Gordon. I'm at Lower Gore Road, 50 Lower Gore Road. We have just under 6 acres, and we are on the corner of Wawela Road. If this motion passes the way it's written, I have 650 to 700 feet of frontage on Wawela Road. I have no access off Wawela Road, but if this is passed the way it's written, I would be assessed at somewhere around $100,000.
Right, what you're talking about is the original motion, the amended motion, that would be applicable, but you're correct.
So I have a problem with that. I don't have access to Wawela Road, but I could be assessed $100,000. You had mentioned in your email to me that we would try and change this to primary and secondary frontage.
Yeah, so, and I do have, that is a potential motion, so we actually, probably many of you were in attendance last Thursday, we had a meeting that we talked about potential changes to the article. One of them could be to address it and make the frontage specific to whether it's primary frontage or secondary frontage if you have ingress egress off of it. Another thing that came up is right now it's at 50%. We could amend that to be a different level. Actually, when the town passed a policy in the past that was very similar to this, and at that time the percentage was 60%. So that was another thing that we discussed at that meeting. Right now, the motion on the floor is to stop it at minor temporary repairs, which would not allow any betterments.
So is there any other discussion in regards to amending the motion, the article to stop after minor temporary repairs?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, you mean before minor temporary repairs? Is that the first motion that was made?
We're discussing the motion to stop the article after 573.2.
At 573.2.
At 573.2.
Okay, yes, I do have a question. And this is a definition question. In 573.1.1, the town may make temporary repairs. I would like temporary repairs to be defined. It doesn't say minor temporary repairs, and it doesn't say major temporary repairs, but the discussion over here is as if it's minor temporary repairs. So the way this is written, it could be minor or major. Is that correct?
So,
No, it doesn't. In 573.1.1, the town may make temporary repairs.
Right. If you look at 573.2.2, it says minor temporary repairs shall.
But that's not part of this motion. In section 573.1.1, the first sentence says the town may make temporary repairs. Is my written document wrong? Can you put the article up on the screen?
I don't have it easily available. So right, you're saying the town may make temporary repairs.
That's what it says.
You want a definition of what temporary repair is.
Well, there is no definition. So I'm assuming that temporary repairs can be anything unless it's defined.
Right. So just to clarify, so the motion on the floor is to include up to and including section 573.2. So there it does define what minor temporary repairs are.
I don't think the motion motion includes section 573.2. It's up to.
Through, so up to and including section. Who made the original motion?
Excuse me, the motion was at the article, at 573-2, not up to, but at, so it includes that one.
All right, sure. That was it.
So is there any other discussion in regards to amending the Article 12 to stop at the end of section 573-2? So that means it would eliminate everything beyond section 573.2.4. Yes?
Hi, Mark Rogers, Ridgewood Lane Road. But this is tangentially relevant to this. This doesn't talk about snow plowing at all, and which is a concern for some of us because we have some of the same issues. Are they included in the temporary repairs?
Kenny Pizzetti, Highway Department. Good evening, everyone. Last week, we had Thursday at our public hearing, in case you missed it. Our goal is to put something like this in place for the simple reason that the state recommends we need one. As the administrator said, we tried to do this in '07. Some of the language wasn't right, so it's been a big lull since then. The snow plowing is included, and basically, almost in simple words, this is where we are. We're looking to continue to help the residents with the snow plowing and the treating of the road in the winter, and we are looking to stick with the same guideline that we had of maintaining, doing a little maintenance on some of these gravel roads in the spring and in the fall before the season came up. Please understand, this is a state guideline, so there's only so much we can do as far as any maintenance on a private way. I know there's a lot of residents that went out over the past several years. Some of these roads, like the gentleman mentioned, Wheeler, they're paved. These people got together, they managed to work it out, and they managed to pave the road. It's great shape, it's gonna go many years, and in this plan, we tried to follow several other cities and towns that kind of wanted to help in every which way they can. So unfortunately, some of this, the only way to do this is in that betterment process, where if you wanted to do that, you had the ability to do that as residents on that frontage, to come in and do that. Otherwise, there's really nothing that the town could do. You know, the law unfortunately says that you can't spend public money on private ways. So it's been many years, we've been talking about this, you know, kind of for several years. So this was the starting point, so we were hoping it's gonna, the public hearing went well, I thought it went well, and we're just kind of hoping to have everybody here and answer whatever questions we can. But that's really, I don't mean to cut it a long story short, but that kind of sums up where the town stands in regards to like a private way.
Is there any other discussion?
Can I make one clarification? So, like Kenny said, we have every intent to continue to plow as we have been doing. The actual article in section 2 doesn't specifically list snow plowing, but we will, the policy right now is to continue to plow private ways.
Okay. Sir, did you have anything you wanted to say?
My name is Bob Kirsch, and I live on Loveland Road. There's been a lot of discussion. I don't know about all of these private streets in the town. I don't know if they meet town standards as far as width is concerned. Would the town come in and pave a road that doesn't meet standards as far as width is concerned?
Right.
To stop it.
Right, so if we were to adopt the whole bylaw as originally proposed, it allows us to put a betterment in the abutters, the ones that put together the scope. They can determine how wide they want the road. Loveland is very narrow, and there's trees that will restrict the width of it. So it will be up to the abutters when they prepare the scope, how wide it would be.
All right, now,
Sorry, and just to add on to that, if you were trying to make it a publicly accepted road, then you would have to make it wide enough, and on Loveland, you would have
Not possible.
Yeah, I would not.
Secondly, you were discussing if the town is going to do these repairs, say paving. It sounded like an awful long process. The engineers, the town will be,
Well, there's 10 steps for government, I thought was pretty good, actually.
might be by you, but not by me.
Yeah, I mean, it is not a very short process, because you have to have everyone agree what the scope is, and then you have to get the selectmen to agree to it, and then you have to get town meeting to agree to it. So those are significant steps. Yes.
And how long a process might that be?
Well, probably around 6 months. 6 months would be on the back.
Also, if the abutters get together, which I believe we have more than a 50% approval, without me mentioning any names or numbers of Loveland Road, I'm sure the town is well aware of one of the owners. If we should go ahead and pave it privately, do we have the right to assess or bill the owner who?
Yeah, who's not in support of it. So if the article were to pass as originally proposed, and you got everyone else on the road to petition the selectmen, then yes, and it got approved at town, and the whole 10 steps got approved, then yes, the assessment would go on everyone that has linear frontage on Loveland.
No, I'm not talking about the assessment. If we do it privately.
If you do it privately, then it's up to you guys, just whatever you agree to.
So if the abutters agree that we all split the cost, can we assess that?
No. Right. Yep. So I mean, that's the point of this article, is to create a betterment process so that when you guys want to pave your road, you can make everyone on the road pay for it. If you don't want your road paved, that would make you upset. I understand
If that guy don't want to pay, you can put him under.
You might have to send out less Christmas cards next year.
I believe she would lay down the road.
Right, is there any other,
Lucky if they're rolling over.
any other discussion?
Mr. Moderator, just for clarification of the town administrator, by eliminating 573.3, the owners would currently have to come up with the money themselves to make the major repairs. If we don't eliminate 5733, then the town will front the money, basically giving the owners a loan to do it. Otherwise, they have to do it all privately.
Yeah, essentially, the motion that's on, that's only the 5.72, or 5.73.2, basically means it's the same, essentially what we're doing right now. The town will continue to go out and grade it a couple times a year, and you have no ability to put a betterment on to improve the road.
Is there any other discussion on the article as amended?
One other point, I believe if we reject this motion, then we are rejecting everything up to and including, including 573.2, the way that's worded.
It would be up to and including section 573.2.
That motion says, I move that the town vote to approve the article up to and including section 573.2. If I say no, I'm rejecting up to 573.2, I believe, right?
You're rejecting the...
You're rejecting everything after.
I think we have to reword that.
You would be rejecting, if you were to vote against amending the article, then we would go back to the original article as presented.
No, that's not, if I vote no, I'm saying I reject everything up to and including 573.2.
So you probably need to word that.
You just need to amend it.
Yep. The vote's here.
Clarify the language.
Approve the article. That. Okay, that's a good idea. All right, so the attorney has recommended that we change the motion to I move that the town vote to amend the motion by striking sections 5.73 through, how many are, 5? Yeah, so whoever made the original motion, can you stand up and say, go? Oh, dang it. The original motion is what?
First of all, I want to apologize for the fact that my hearing is not the best, and I haven't heard a lot of the conversations.
Yeah, so, Joe, sorry.
My section was to stop at section 573.2, but it would be the complete section, all the way to 573.3.
So Joe, can you hear me? Just to be clear, on the article presented on the board, it says to amend the motion by striking sections 573.3 through the end. That was your intent, correct?
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry.
Mr. Moderator, yes, I have a question, Mr. Moderator.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so I have a motion after this motion. So if this motion, either way it goes, I have a motion after this motion. So we're going to go back to the original article so I can make my motion?
If this article fails, then we would go back to the original motion.
If this article passes, then what?
We get to go home. Not that I want to go home, but that's what happens.
Can I amend this motion?
So what we would do is we would vote on the existing motion on the floor, which is to move that the town vote to amend the article by striking out sections 573.3 through the end.
Yeah.
And then after that, depending upon how that passes, then we would revert to the original article.
And then I can make my motion.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So, sorry, if this passes, we don't get to go home. If this amendment passes, then we have stricken the rest of it, then we still have to make the motion to approve the 5.71 and 5.7, sorry, 5.73.132. Okay, all right.
Call for the question.
So at this time, we're going to open voting, and this is going to be to amend the article by striking out sections 573.3 through the end of the article. So all those in favor of amending the article, please vote 1 for yes. All those opposed, press 2 or B. And at this time, voting is open. This is a majority vote. Right at this time, we will close voting.
So we're back to the original motion.
So we are back to the original motion, which is the article as presented. It was 49 to 86, so the motion to amend the article did not pass.
Moderator, can we dispense with this article and bring it back in January? I make that a motion.
I still have discussion on the floor first, and then we'll take your motion.
Jane Lane, 6 Bernard Street. Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to amend this article. Section 573.2, minor temporary repairs. Please add the legal language such as the installation of drainage shall be included, and remove any reference that it shall not be included. So what we want to do with minor repairs is have drainage included as a minor repair without a betterment charge.
And is there a second to that motion? All right, we have a motion and a second. After conferring with town council, the motion to add installation of drainage to be included as a minor temporary repair would be out of scope because Mass General Laws defines the drainage as a major installation, a major repair.
Yeah, and so if we were to do that, that those costs would be upon the town, and that's not a minor repair. So I think what your intent was that you want That basically the town to pay for it, not to drainage to be part of the betterment. Yeah.
And the reason for that is the network of roads. You have public roads, private roads, and public roads draining onto each other. And without the system in place together, flooding occurs. So if you say to the private roads, you have to pay for this, they may not pay for it, so you still have the situation of flooding, which is a public safety issue. So that's the problem. Can we then, if you call it a major temporary repair, change the title from minor temporary repairs to just temporary repairs, section 573.2, and then fit under Mass General Law?
I mean, Jane, unfortunately, that's not what the state allows. I mean, it's that really simple. You know, drainage is a major structure in any road, and unfortunately, again, the issue we're looking at here is private. So that's, you know, it's just, as we said, it's in accordance with the state, it's out of the guidance, any type of minor repair. Again, it's a private road issue.
Is there any other discussion on the article as presented?
Yes, I do. I have a question. Under the major temporary repairs, it's worded as 50% of the lineal frontage, where some of the discussion has said 50% of the abutters. So is it the number of abutters, or is it the percentage of the frontage that you
It's
actually
a
have?
percentage of the frontage.
Okay. And
The linear frontage.
so I would just like to make a comment that I'm personally not comfortable with 50%. It seems like that a couple of people could force a whole lot of other people to be in a position to spend some money that maybe they don't want to. So I'd like to present an amendment to the motion to change under section 57.3, so the owners of no less than 2/3 of the linear frontage of said way from the current 50%.
All right, and you're going to make that in the form of a motion?
I thought I just did.
All
Don't
right,
make me say it again.
Is there a second?
Yes.
All right, there is a motion and a second to amend the article. Section 573.3.1 to change it to, instead of reading no less than 50% of the lineal frontage, it would be 2/3% of the lineal frontage. So is there any discussion on that to the article?
Yes, I'd like to add 2/3 of people who have ingress and egress to the frontage, to eliminate people who don't have egress and egress to the frontage, to the road being assessed.
So Mark?
Yes.
Oh, those are just section. Yeah, never mind. Are we amending this motion to do that, or are we having another motion?
So for the gentleman who did the first motion, what we can do is we can capture both results. If you want to amend your original motion to read as 2/3 of primary lineal frontage.
That's fine.
Okay. So you've amended your original motion, and there's a second to that. So is there any discussion?
I just wanted to possibly add one more thing to that, because on certain roads you have multiple roads coming into the road, and they're utilizing the road that could need repairs. And we've spoken about this at the prior meeting, maybe you can include any of the feeder roads, so the linear footage of the people who are in the feeder road.
What if we, can I make a suggestion that we vote on this and then, depending on that vote, yeah, then we can make that motion.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna vote on the amended article, which changes the language to read that the town, amend the article to strike no less than 50% of the primary frontage and replace it with 2/3 of the primary lineal frontage in section 573.3.1. So is there any other discussion before I open up voting?
So we,
I think there are two issues here. I don't think they should be in the same motion. You're changing from 50% to 2/3, and then you're also adding that the primary lineal footage, and those are two separate issues. And I think they should be voted on separately.
right, so, because Mr. Johnson agreed to amend his original motion, that is the motion that's currently on the floor.
Is there any other discussion on voting on the article as on the amendment to the article? So at this time,
Yeah, I make a motion that we take primary linear frontage off of this motion, make it 2/3, and then have primary linear frontage as a separate motion.
is there a second to that motion?
Okay, oh, we got a second. Okay, so now the motion is to take that off, the primary portion of this, so that's, yeah. Yeah, so go ahead and explain it, and I will try to type what you say.
So you can amend, a second person can amend a motion that's pending on the floor, a motion to amend. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So currently pending is a motion to remove the word primary from the motion to amend, which had originally been read as motion to amend the article to strike the language of 50% of the lineal frontage of said way to 2/3% of the lineal primary frontage. Okay, so now the motion that you're voting on is to strike the primary word. So if that passes, then the original motion as amended would be on the table and you would be voting on the 2/3. So first you have to decide whether or not you want primary. And if you do want primary, you should vote against the motion to amend the motion to amend. Sorry. So if you want to remove the word primary, so for the folks who are getting their main frontage, it's not a secondary road, you want to remove that word, you're going to vote yes, okay?
What I'm saying is I think you should make this one change and then have a second motion that includes the primary. So two motions. Let me move the question.
It can't be done that way,
Yeah,
so
you
you
can't-
have to just deal with what the motion was on the floor, unless this gentleman wants to withdraw his motion, and then you vote it separately.
Can we get an explanation of how the word primary changes the motion?
So primary is where you're getting your street address from. So for example, if your address is 276, but you have 276 Main Street, but you happen to live on a corner lot, and the lot where you're not obtaining your address from is Elm Street or something, the primary would be Main Street, okay? Yeah.
Just to clarify one thing, you're taking away their voting ability, but not the ability to charge them a betterment? Is that correct? So
No, no,
you can't vote, but you're still gonna pay the betterment because you have frontage.
No, that's not what they're saying.
Yeah,
Statement's out of order.
Go ahead.
So that's not the motion right now, that would be on the main article, whether or not you're approving the article.
language is saying, right?
No, so this amendment is saying whether or not you want the article to read to include the word primary, okay? And then later on, the town meeting is gonna decide whether they want to approve the article generally, okay?
But this language is only changing the primary resident ability to vote on submitting the petition, not on the betterment process.
2/3 of the primary will have to agree, yes.
On the petition, not on the betterment.
So on the betterment.
So since we did have a motion to move the question, we are going to open up voting to
Strike primary.
primary lineal frontage from the amended motion. So if you're in favor of striking the word primary, press 1. If you're not in favor of eliminating the word primary, press 2. And at this time, we will open voting. All right, at this time, we will close voting. Right, the motion to strike the word primary from the amendment was defeated.
So this would be the correct motion.
Correct, so now we are back on the amendment to the article. That is the original motion, which is to move that the town amend the article to strike no less than 50% of the frontage and replace it with 2/3% of the primary lineal frontage. So if you are in favor of amending the article to read this way, you're going to, is there any discussion before I open voting?
Just to clarify, it's at least 2/3.
Right, hearing no discussion, I will open voting. So if you're in favor of amending the article with the language to read, strike no less than 50% of the frontage and replace it with at least 2/3% of the primary lineal frontage, you're going to press 1 or A for yes. If you are against changing the language, you're going to press 2 or B. And at this time, voting is open. Right at this time, we will close voting.
So that's 65 to 59.
So the amendment to the article passes, and now we revert. It is 65 to 59. So now we are back to voting on the article in its entirety as amended.
All right.
Is there any discussion?
I'm sorry, but I would like to make a motion to amend section 573.3.2 to add that shall be in proportion to the primary linear frontage.
That's
Sorry,
what we
which
just
section?
Now,
voted on.
we did it on voting, previous sections, 573.3.1, correct?
Right.
That is correct.
Okay, so now I'm saying add the primary linear frontage to this section as well, so that those of us who live on corner lots and don't have egress are not charged for the
Sorry,
better.
which section number was that again?
573.3.2.
Right, so on the, you're saying on the bottom of page 25, the last paragraph, shall be in proportion to the primary frontage thereof on such private way.
Correct, on my sheet it's page 14, but I think we're in the same place.
So primary linear.
Right, so you're assessed only if you have primary frontage.
So we have a motion. Is there a second to that motion? All right, we have a motion and a second to amend the article.
Sorry, amendment. Right.
Right, so is there any discussion on amending the article in section 573.3.2 to change the language to read the primary lineal frontage?
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to speak in favor of this. It would only be fair to add that wording since the people who get to vote on it are the primary frontage owners, so they should bear the cost.
So, Ken, you were just speaking in support of the amendment, right? Yep.
Is there any other discussion in regards to the motion to amend the article? Right, hearing no discussion, I will open voting.
Oh, sorry.
So if you are in favor of amending the article to include the language primary linear, press 1 or A for yes. If you are opposed to changing the language, press 2 or B. So at this time, voting is now open. And we'll close voting. So 71 to 44, so the motion to amend the article has passed. So now we are going back to the original article as amended.
Make a motion to move that question as amended. Second.
We have a motion and a second to move the article. So at this time, I am going to open voting. So if you're in favor of passing the article in its entirety as amended, press 1. If you're opposed to passing the article in its entirety as amended, press 2. And before I open voting, I do have a report from the bylaw committee in regards to Article 12, and they did recommend approval as presented in the draft. So at this time, voting is now open. All right, and we will close voting. (78 to 43), the article passes. At this time, we have a motion to second to dissolve. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? And on your way out, please make sure you return your clicker.